guys, it's Carl here again from Ryan Rotary Performance, and welcome to the second episode of the Mazdaedit tutorial guide. So in episode 1 we looked at the different versions of Mazdaedit, and we also looked at how to upload the base map from your vehicle and save it to your desktop. So in this episode we're going to do what's commonly known as a mini map. These are all static changes which require no login and are based on experience. So we're going to open up the stock map here. So this is a stock map from a Series 1 Mazda RX-8 6-port. And this is not the default view that you get. I have put these into 3D maps, 2D maps and 1D maps. I'll quickly show you the default view and then I'll change it back to the view that I have here. So we are going to uncheck that. So when you first open Mazdaedit, you get the default view, and Mazdaedit groups them in terms of their functions. So we have some closed loop maps here, we have some drive-by-wire maps, some diagnostic trouble code, engine, fan control, and so on and so forth. What I like to do is further break them down, as well as having them in their function, 3D maps, 2D maps, and 1D. And that's just because I'm used to that layout and I know where to find things. So if I want to change it, then I go to View, List View Options, and Group by Map Type. So now we can see we have them in their function, but also 3D, 2D, and 1D. So the difference is, if I click on, a 3D map has an X, Y, and Z axis. A 2D map has an X and a Y axis. And a 1D map just has an X axis. So we're going to start down in the 1D space. And first of all, we're going to look at limiters. So a question I often get asked is, can I increase the rev limit of my RX-8? And the answer is yes, you can. Will it yield any benefit? Probably no. And it's almost certainly going to increase engine wear. But for track day goers who want that little extra reach on a certain part of the track, then it can be useful. So if you wanted to edit the maximum RPM, you click on the checkbox here for the RPM limiter. And there are a couple of ways you can do this. You can go to Edit and Data Increment, and it will increment, and in this case increment in terms of 50 RPMs each time. You can multiply it, so if you want a 10% increase, you want 110%, or you can just double click the data set and enter an RPM you want. So I've set it there to 9,500, and if I wanted to keep that, then I would click on X button here. The software then asks me if I want to apply those changes before I close this map. Now it says yes, and now you can see those changes have been applied, so 9,500. If I click off that now, you can see the font has changed and it's a bold font, and that's there to show that that particular map has been changed. So we have a speed limiter map here. I'm just going to open that up. This is a UK based map, so there are no changes to be made. You can change it if you like. You won't notice any changes. But for those with a JDM import who I believe are stuck around about 100 miles an hour, I think it is, you can change it to these settings here, and that will lift your speed limiter. Great for track, of course, only. So we also have a low engine coolant temperature limit safety feature here. So we have the threshold and we have the warm-up limiter. So at the moment it's set to 20 degrees Celsius. At 20 degrees, if your engine is below 20 degrees Celsius, then your engine will be limited to 5,500. So I think these are set a bit low. and if I was doing a mini map, then I would set that to something like 65. Gives the oil also a chance to get up to operating temperature, and I'd set this to 4750. So just helps with engine wear when the engine's cold. Again, if you want to apply those, click on the X button, and yes. So I'll just come off there now. You can see the 3 changes that I've made are now in a bold font. So that's limiters done. And a lot of that is personal preference. So the other section that would be covered in a mini-map would be the fan control. So these two here that I've just checked are the slow speed fans. And in my opinion, these come on too late. So at this point within the engine, the thermostat would be fully open, and the only way we're going to cool the engine is by increasing the airflow over the engine. So 97 in my opinion is too high. I would change this to something more like 90. And I would change the high speed fan to something like 95. Again, this is personal preference. You can set these to whatever you like. Anything below the threshold of the thermostat is a waste of time, but anywhere in this range here is a good idea. So the next thing that would be covered in a mini map would be something like a diagnostic trouble code. So for any of you guys who have modified your RX-8 or use your RX-8 on track, you don't have a catalytic converter, or you've got rid of your secondary air pump with a new manifold that doesn't have the ability for it, then to stop the engine management light coming up, you would need to disable the diagnostic trouble code. So there are 2 maps for this, A and B, or 1 and 2, and you need to make sure that they mirror each other. So the column on the left here is the diagnostic trouble code, and the column on the right shows its status. So 01 is enabled and 00 shows it's disabled. So we want to disable the catalytic converter EML and the secondary air pump EML, then we need to disable these 2. And I'll click that to 00, 00. And I'll do the same on this map as well. 0. For anyone who wants the full list of DTC codes, please shout in the comments. I'm happy to publish it, and I'll just put it down in the comments below. So if you think that's useful, then just let me know. So I'm going to also do 139. So 139 is a slow response for the catalytic converter O2 sensor, and it generally flags if you have a decat. So as a matter of course, if you have a decat, just disable that one as well. Okay, so I've done the changes to those 2 maps and I want to save them, so click the X and then yes. And you can see the changes have been applied. So the only other change, static change, that you would make within the 2D map space would be to raise the idle, and there are several idle maps. So I'm just going to open up the first 3, and you can see they're all different. On the left hand side you have coolant temperature, and on the right hand side you have your target RPMs based on the engine coolant temperature. So each one's different. So one target's 800 RPMs, the operating temperature, and another one here is 810, and then I believe it's this one here, the target's 790. So why so many maps for idle? Well, the honest answer is I'm not 100% sure. The only rationale I can really think of is that there is a load map behind these maps, and that these are targeted based on the engine load. So if you had air conditioning on, for example, then you might want to target 810. Or if you had the rear heated screen on, then you might want to target 800. And low conditions would be your 790. What I do when I map cars is I put them all the same. So these areas here on all the maps, I just make sure are the same. So I'm going to make the changes now. So 60 degrees 950, and then we're going to go for 80 degrees, we're going to go 900. So 900 on map A. To apply changes, X button, then yes. Map B, 900. Apply the changes. Map C. Map D. So map E has no function that I'm aware of. If you know, then tell me. But I've played around with this map in the past and it appears to do absolutely nothing. So as a matter of course, I don't change this. I leave it alone. So map F, I'm going to change that to 950. The 60 degrees Celsius, and then that to 900. 950. 900. So they all mirror each other now from A to G, and you will have increased your oil pressure at idle, given some relief to the bearings and helping prolong your engine. So it's a really good modification to do. The idle pressure at the OEM set idle is really low, so this is well worth doing. So that's the 2D space taken care of. So now we're going to look at some 3D maps, and the first one you want to look at would be your OMP. So there are two maps for the OMP, and the OMP is the oil metering pump. It regulates how much oil is injected into the combustion chamber, and it does this via two maps. It has a throttle map and has an engine load map. So your engine load, for those of you who do not know what engine load is, it's how hard the engine is working. So simplistically, if your foot's flat to the floor, you're going up a hill and you're working the engine really hard, you're going to be in this space here. When you're cruising, you know, you're not working the engine very hard at all, then you're going to be in this space here. And then obviously there's anything in between. So for the engine load map, we have an x-axis of RPMs, and we have a y-axis for engine load. For the throttle, we have a percentage of the throttle position, and on the x-axis we have the RPMs. So the OMP is a mechanical device. It will wear over time. So on older RX-8s, I tend to increase the limit by 10%. So what you want to do is click on the first cell, Control A to select all, edit data multiplier, 110, 110%, click enter. And now you've increased everything by 10%. So there is a little after correction to do, and that is the highest data set for this map is 60, and these four cells now above 60, so you want to make sure that they are 60, and now you're done. So the same again on the throttle injection map, Control A, select all, data multiply, 110, 110%, and then just make your corrections. 60. Okay, so that's those two maps done. Yes. Yes, apply. So the last map that you would look at for a static adjustment would be the ignition dwell. So the ignition dwell controls the charge up time for your coil system based on the RPM and the voltage that it's receiving. So we have on the x-axis we have the RPM, and on the y-axis we have the voltage, and then here we have a number which represents how long the ignition coil is being charged for. So this is the OEM table. I'll suggest if you are going to play with this, then for OEM coils, then do not touch the upper ranges, as you are likely to overheat the coil and reduce its working life. If you have some D585 coils, then it's a good idea to adjust this map, because you'll be underutilizing them and they won't be giving out the punch required for the engine. So if anyone wants me to publish some D585 coil maps, then please shout. I can stick it in the comments below along with the DTC code list. That's fine. So I'm not going to touch that for this map. Of course, I have Ryan Roach performance coils and they require no map at all. So let's close that off. First, we have to save the map and now send it to our vehicle. So go to File, Save As, and I'm going to save it here as S1 RX8 6 port T1. You can, if you like, put a description of what's changed. It's a really good idea to keep on top of version control, especially when it comes to math scaling. So I'm just going to save that to my desktop. And now you can see that anything that was bold before has now disappeared, because nothing now has been changed within this map set. So they've all been applied and they've all gone back to their normal status. So now if we want to apply this to our car, then we need to use the Flash Utility tool. So we need to go to Tools, Flash Utility, and it's sent the map to the Flash Utility. So now we need to go to the vehicle, plug in our Tatrix, connect the Tatrix via the USB lead to our computer, turn the ignition on, so all the lights are on the dashboard, and then we need to click this red button here. And once you click that button there, just follow the on-screen instructions, and then turn it off when you're finished, and then you can turn it all back on again and you've applied your changes. So I hope that was useful. I hope you learned something. If you did like our video, then give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and I look forward to seeing you all on the next episode. All right, bye bye for now.